Rats laugh when you tickle them. They'll free a trapped friend instead of eating chocolate. And they can learn their name, to come when called, and even do agility. So why do so many people still think they're dirty, dangerous, or even evil? Today, for World Rat Day, I'm talking about one of the most misunderstood animals on the planet, and why science tells a very different story. Welcome to the podcast. If you're new here, I explore pet rats through the lens of science, behaviour, and welfare. And today is a special episode because it's World Rat Day. World Rat Day is celebrated every year on the 4th of April, so today I want to do three things. First, I want to talk about why rats have such a bad reputation. Second, I want to look at what the science actually has to say about rats. And finally, I want to talk about why they make such incredible pets. Let's start with the obvious question. Why do rats have such a bad reputation? Rats are often blamed for spreading disease, especially the Black Death. The Black Death was caused by a bacterium called Yersinia pestis. Rats and other rodents can become infected with this bacterium without getting seriously ill. And when fleas bite these infected rats, they also become infected. The infected fleas then biting humans was thought to be how the Black Death was spread. More recent research, however, suggests that the Black Death was not spread by rats and their fleas, but by human fleas. And the rats that did get the blame originally were black rats, scientifically known as Rattus rattus, not the brown rats, scientifically known as Rattus norvegicus, that we share our homes with. That doesn't make for as catchy a story though. Human, flea-borne disease doesn't quite have the same ring to it as plague rats does. Rats can transmit disease though, but you'd usually need to be bitten by one or have contact with its excrement or urine. So it's definitely possible, but probably not as likely as people think. Dogs and cats can spread diseases too. For example, cat scratch fever can be passed from cats to humans through bites and scratches. But most people don't think of cats and dogs as disease-ridden animals. There are other factors that give rats a bad reputation too. They tend to come out at night, which probably makes them more unsettling. And in some cultures, they are portrayed in a negative light, although this isn't the case in every culture. In Western culture, rats are often seen as dirty, or used as a way to describe someone betraying you. In Eastern culture, however, rats are often perceived much more positively. For example, the Karni Mata temple in India worships and cares for thousands of rats. But the interesting thing is, when you actually study rats scientifically, that negative narrative falls apart pretty quickly. Let's talk what rats are actually like, according to research. Rats are intelligent. They are extremely good learners. They can be trained to press levers, navigate mazes, and perform various complex tasks through operant conditioning, which is a learning process where behaviours are strengthened or weakened by their consequences. Rats are also empathetic. They have been shown to behave prosocially by choosing to save another drowning rat over a food reward. Rats also engage in play behaviour, especially when they're young. They chase each other, wrestle, and they emit ultrasonic vocalizations that researchers interpret as laughter. So when you put all of this together, intelligence, social bonding, and emotional behaviour, you start to see rats very differently. So what does all of that mean for us as pet owners? Why do rats make such incredible companions? Well, rats are deeply social animals. They don't just tolerate company, they need it. And that extends to their owners too. Many rats will seek out interaction with their owners, learn their routines, and even show preferences for certain people. Because they're so intelligent, rats are highly trainable. You can teach them their name, tricks, and even how to do an agility course. And training isn't just fun, it's actually really good for their welfare as well, because it gives them mental stimulation. Something every rat owner notices is that all rats have their own distinct personalities. Some are bold, some are cautious, some are very cuddly, and others are more independent. And that individuality is something we also see reflected in research. Rats aren't just identical units, they vary in behaviour, stress responses, and social tendencies. So if rats are intelligent, social, and emotional animals, why does the negative perception still stick? Personally, I think it's because most people don't get exposed to rats in a positive context. I've had a lot of people show disgust when they find out I have pet rats, but they don't see the rat that comes when it's called, the rat that grooms its cage mate, or the rat that falls asleep in my arms. And that's where things like World Rat Day actually matter, because they create an opportunity to replace that default image with something more accurate and, honestly, something more interesting. So for World Rat Day, here's what I'd leave you with. Rats are not just survivors of human environments, they're not just research models, and they're definitely not just pests. They are intelligent, social, and emotionally complex animals that, if you give them the chance, can form real, meaningful relationships with people. If you already have rats, today is a great excuse to give them some extra love and attention. And if you've never met a pet rat, I would genuinely encourage you to do so. It might completely change how you see them. Happy World Rat Day! If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to subscribe to this channel. And if you want more science-based discussions about rat behaviour, welfare and research, there's plenty more coming. And in future episodes, I'll be talking a bit more about my own PhD work and how it connects to all of this. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye.